Welcome, Nightstalkers, to a chilling journey through the mysterious and haunting tale of Echoes of the House. Tonight, we'll unravel the twisted threads of Christopher's story, a tale of family, memory, and unsettling truths. So grab your flashlights and hold on to your courage, because this one promises to be a short nightmare you won't forget. Our story begins with Christopher, our protagonist, arriving at his grandmother's house late one night. Concerned for her well being after days of unanswered calls, he steps out into the cold, familiar yard, haunted by echoes of his childhood. As he approaches, the house looks just as he remembers, or at least that's what he tells himself.
They were so young and so happy. I miss you, Grandpa.
Inside, Christopher finds his grandmother, frail and alone. She tells us that it's never been the same since her husband died. Dear old grandma.
Glad to see you too.
She explains that her pain and inability to move have kept her from answering the phone. It's a bittersweet reunion, and Christopher resolves to care for her by making her some tea. But as he moves through the house, the first signs of something off begin to surface.
A bag full of
In the kitchen, Christopher encounters a series of unsettling details. No running water, a post-it note reminding him to feed a dog, that's nowhere to be seen or heard by the way, and a newspaper with a chilling story. It warns of an escaped patient from a nearby psychiatric hospital, a 32-year-old suffering from a rare form of dementia. The image of a shattered window hints at their escape. Coincidence? Or the beginning of something sinister? Now, with no running water, Christopher fetches water from the backyard well. The night grows heavier with dread as we see our grandmother suddenly moving about the house, although her movements seem a little bit off. As he returns, he notices the rocking chair in the porch swaying gently, though no one is there to push it. The house itself seems alive, whispering secrets he can't yet hear. We finally brew some tea and bring it up to dear old grandma, but not before somebody knocks on the kitchen window, which Christopher decides to completely ignore. By the way, you can really taste that moldy well water.
My legs hurt so much that sometimes I can't even stand. So
Deciding to cheer up his grandmother, Christopher retrieves an old Polaroid camera from the trunk of his car. But the contents of the trunk raises more questions. We find medical supplies, bandages, and first aid kits, tools one might need after escaping a psych hospital. These details gnaw at the edges of reality, hinting that not everything is as it seems.
I don't need medication. I'm as healthy as a bull.
Now, when Christopher tries to capture his grandmother's image, the Polaroid develops without her. Everything else is there, but grandma is nowhere to be found in the picture. And as he moves through the house, he notices something even stranger. His grandfather's face is now missing from every photo on the walls. A chilling emptiness settles over the home, as if the very essence of the family is being erased. Now, before we can even process what's going on with the photo, a knock at the door pulls him outside. And there's no one there, only a flickering lamp by the side of the house and the unmistakable sound of his grandfather's old typewriter. We run back inside and Christopher finds a letter with a hidden message. Take picture.
I just want to take some pictures.
From the window, Christopher spots a figure watching him from a distance. After taking a picture of the letter, it is transformed into a map, a path leading to a buried secret beneath a tree. Borrowing a shovel from a grumpy neighbor, Christopher follows the trail to unearth an old lighter and a revolver. He recognizes the weapon instantly, its dark history triggering a flood of memories, and the figure from the distance is now sprinting towards us.
What the?
As the figure gets closer and closer, we see that it's actually Grandpa from the picture.
I'm tired of this, Grandpa. That's too damn bad!
Panic sets in as Christopher races back into the house. His vision blurs, his heartbeat pounds in his ears, and the power cuts out. In the suffocating darkness, Christopher searches for a key to restore the lights. When we finally restore the lights, his grandma is back on the couch as if she never left. But her presence brings no comfort, only a chilling tale of her late husband, whose happiness masked a deep, sorrowful secret.
I remember once he brought me to this house. It was so peaceful here. We loved this place.
Dear Grandma shares a memory that feels pivotal, a night where everything changed. Though she speaks in riddles, her words carry a weight that hints at tragedy. The atmosphere thickens as the TV loses signal, forcing Christopher to head to the roof to fix it. But for all the oddities in the house, he seems unbothered. Taking a moment to enjoy a surprisingly hearty spaghetti meal on the porch before using the bathroom,
Squeaker!
and succumbing to exhaustion. Our lights is shattered by a loud noise. The barricaded door stands wide open. A picture has vanished from the wall, and worst of all, Grandma is gone. Panic sets in as Christopher searches for her. But before he can call out, two deafening gunshots ring out from inside the house. Racing back in, we find no one. Only the missing photo, now altered, resting on the couch.
What the fuck?
On that photo, we see Grandpa looks younger, dressed differently, and the caption for the photo now reads Glenda and I, which carries an eerie intimacy. But what stands out as well is the vinyl record right next to the picture, a relic that we saw earlier inside of the fridge of all places. Meanwhile, other unsettling details surface. Christopher's car is missing.
Dude, where's my car? Where's your car, dude?
And so are the neighboring houses. The world outside feels like it's slipping away. When Christopher plays the record, the nostalgic music seems to warp reality. As we turn around, a single gunshot cuts through the melody, and suddenly we wake up back in the bedroom, unsure of how we got there. The house is quiet, but not for long.
Glinda.
Chris, do you remember how we used to spend time in this house? You always knew
Where dear old Grandma used to sit, we now see Glenda. She doesn't seem like the frail woman he greeted earlier, and notably he doesn't call her Grandma anymore. He calls her Glenda. She speaks with a warm, haunting familiarity, recounting the life they shared in the house. Her words reveal a deep connection, but also a lingering sorrow. We go back to that day, that night, when something about Christopher, about us, changed. She remembers the look on his face and the object in his hand, but she didn't realize what it was until it was too late. Through the window, Christopher sees the flashing lights of law enforcement vehicles, a vivid memory of tragedy reasserting itself. His body gives in and everything goes dark once again. Christopher wakes outside disoriented, only to return to a house devoid of life. It's as if the walls have been stripped of their purpose. On a table, 3 items stand out: a bottle of chocolate wine, a ring, and a gun. Blood seeps from under the office door, and Glenda's voice echoes in the emptiness, a chilling farewell. We're just shadows now, echoes trapped in the walls. It's time for you to leave. With no choice but to follow, Christopher takes a torch and steps into the oppressive darkness of the swamp. The deeper he ventures, the more surreal the experience becomes. We follow these little lights through the swamp, and we hear whispers and the rhythmic beeping of the hospital equipment filling the air, guiding us to a grim discovery. At the end of this twisted path stands a gallows, a stark and undeniable symbol of death. The weight of fate presses down, but Christopher resists it. He cries out, denying his place in this grim conclusion. "I can't do this, I need to get out of here," he shouts, turning and fleeing the scene. Christopher's desperate escape leads him back to the beginning. He watches himself arrive at the house as though trapped in an endless loop. The radio crackles to life, filling the house with static and whispers. The cycle begins anew, and the echoes of the house persist. So what do I think happened, Nightstalkers? Well, here's my take, and I'd love to hear yours in the comments below. I believe there was never a grandma or grandpa. The story we experienced was a fiction, a construct created by Christopher's fractured mind, a coping mechanism to help him deal with the unbearable reality of his actions.
Welcome to the worst nightmare of all. Reality.
Once upon a time, Glenda and Christopher were young and in love, living in this house with their dog and child. It was a picture-perfect life. The white picket fence, the family at the beach. But as Glenda hinted during the story, there was always a sadness in Christopher's eyes. A sadness she didn't recognize until it was too late. I think Christopher struggled with severe mental illness, and one fateful night, everything fell apart. The revolver we found buried in the yard, it wasn't just a random relic. That night, Christopher used it, first on Glenda, then on the child. And when he turned it on himself, something went wrong. The beeping of hospital monitors and the hiss of a ventilator we hear in the swamp, they're a chilling reminder. Christopher survived. He never escaped the hospital. Everything we see in this story, the house, the neighborhood, even grandma, exists only in his mind. The clues are there, hidden in the cracks of his reality. The post-it note reminding us to feed the dog hints at the pet that's no longer around, and the bag in the kitchen that Christopher refuses to think about? Probably dog food. Perhaps something he buried emotionally, just like the revolver in the yard. The bunny plushie and the photo of two adults with a child at the beach point to a child Christopher no longer allows himself to remember. And then there are the broken clocks in the house, symbolizing his world frozen in time, unable to move forward. I think Christopher created the story of Grandma as a way to return to the house without facing the truth. He made Glenda into Grandma to avoid acknowledging that she was once his wife. The figure of Grandpa is a haunting reminder of what he's done, trying to make him confront the truth. That's why we're so afraid of him, because we don't recognize ourselves. When Grandma transforms into Glenda, I believe it's Glenda's spirit breaking through Christopher's delusions, trying to help him find peace. She guides him to the gallows, a symbol of the truth he must accept to move on. But Christopher isn't ready. He denies it, runs back to the house, and restarts the cycle, trapped forever in this self-made purgatory. That's my theory, Nightstalkers, but what do you think? Is Christopher truly the victim of his own mind, or is there another layer of this haunting tale? Let me know your thoughts and theories on the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with anyone brave enough to unravel the mysteries of Echoes of the House. As always, from my dark corner of the web to yours, farewell, Nightstalkers, until the next nightmare.